So I wanted to create a video on how to have a rep get a sale on their first demonstration. To me, their experience getting a sale on their first demonstration, it's so important and so powerful because that now it just shapes their expectation. No matter how much we promote that they'll do well and they'll thrive, a lot of times they need to go out in the field and they need to go ahead and get evidence. They need to go ahead and have the experience to believe. The key, though, is to make sure that they believe that they can succeed and believe that they'll sell before they actually even do that first demonstration. So, number one, just understand as a leader how important it is for them to get a sale on that first demo. I would love to almost get a stat going if we could to see percentage of top reps and managers and see what percentage of them got a sale on the very first demo. I would guess that it would be a high percentage of them. So, that's our responsibility to make sure that, that they get a taste of success as soon as possible. I was learning a lot of this from Nate Reddick and Kyle Preeman. These are guys that consistently have a high percentage of their reps to their first promo. One thing they had in common as I interviewed them was that they make sure and they take responsibility for their reps getting a sale right away. So one thing I've been really instilling in my reps is the expectation model, the concept of expectation. And I teach this in opening comments now, we're right on the board: expectation, point of view, perception, belief. I put that on the left-hand side. I put that leads to attitude, emotional state, way of being, feelings. So I put that next to it in a column, and then to the right I put an arrow, and we then take action. And then after that I put down results. And I say, guys, the results you generate will be directly connected to the expectation. We love to be right as human beings. So the mission of training, to put it simple, is to make sure you guys leave with the expectation that you will get orders, people can afford it, people will buy Cutco, it's an amazing product line, you're going to have fun, all those things. So that way you get to go out and be right by going out and getting orders. It's no different than a kid who says, I'm bad at math. That's their expectation. They go fail the test. They go, see, Mom, I told you, I'm bad at math. And then a kid is really, in their mind, their expectation or perception is, I'm good at science. So they go ace the test. They go, hey, Mom, see, I told you, I'm good at science. And this is an exact story, an example I share with my trainees so they fully understand the power of expectation. Lately, I've been sharing with them, I go, listen, can you beat a 2-year-old in an arm wrestle? And they're like, yeah, and they say this with a chuckle. I go, okay, well, you get to sell 8 out of your next 10 demos. They're like, maybe. I go, you see the difference? You have this expectation, this no doubt, duh, makes sense, absolutely, I could beat a 2-year-old in an arm wrestle. It's logical, there's just no doubt. We need to get you to the same point when it comes to, believing you'll get 8 out of 10 people to order Cutco. It's got to be duh, no doubt. Same thing with referrals, and same thing with phone skills. So make sure your reps understand the power of expectation. You can talk about baseball analogy. If you expect to hit the ball, your body will be relaxed and comfortable and confident. You'll have a confident way of being. And then you'll take action. You'll swing the bat powerfully. And then you'll obviously hit the ball. But if you think you're going to strike out, same concept. You're going to choke the bat too tight, be nervous, tense, rigid, swing the bat while being that, you're going to miss the ball. Some people call this a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's where the concept comes about as well. Or an example, rather, of this whole thing. So, a lot of times we have these intentions with training, but we don't bother to share them with the rep. So my reps just understand what it takes for them to get a sale on their first demo. And I say, guys, what it takes is 2 things. You expecting to get an order and wanting to get an order. It's really what it boils down to. Expectation is confidence and belief, no doubt, duh, it makes sense. And then also just the desire to want to make a difference for customers because they have product conviction. So as long as your reps leave training with those 2 things in place, they wholeheartedly want people to own the product line, like it's them doing the customer a favor. And then they also just believe that it makes sense that people can afford to buy Cutco, and it just is a logical, emotional decision. It just is like a given. It's a no duh, it just makes sense type of, situation. So with that in mind, it really allows you to kind of take a, well, what parts of training, or not parts of training, all of training is designed to do those two things. They role play a lot, so that way they now think, wow, I'm prepared. Whether they do the manual word for word or not is almost irrelevant. It's their own perception or belief that they know. It's like I share with reps the placebo effect. And guys, if you think brown shoes helps you sell, wear brown shoes. So it's like, we have reps that technically they're just not sound at all, but they believe that they're going to get sales and they want to get sales and they go out and they get it done. So, that's really why we role play so much throughout training, ladies and gentlemen, is so that you, at the end of the third day of training, will tell yourself, I am prepared. Because all it is a perception anyway. There's no way of measuring whether you're prepared or not. It's all opinion based. My reps also understand the on track, maybe on track, off track model. I teach that in opening comments as well. I write on the board, I go, no matter what, it's always an opinion, guys. Either you're going to view yourself as on track, maybe on track, or off track. But again, it's opinion. So you might as well perceive yourself as on track. So we take actions consistent with one who's on track. We get results consistent with one who's on track. We get to be right about being on track. It's like a student midway through the semester fails a quiz, and they go from thinking they were on track the day before to now off track, and then they stop going to class. So now they get to be right about being off track because they end up going ahead and causing themselves to fail and get poor results, poor grades. Product conviction, tell them why you're having them cut things throughout training. All my reps, before they even come to training as an assignment, need to watch and take notes on the Modern Marvels video. And so that way they come in already with product knowledge and product conviction, and we don't have to keep it a secret why. You just mention, I want you to come to training with product conviction. I want you to want people to have, our fabulous product line. So tell them why they're role playing. Tell them why they're cutting up rope leather, why they're cutting up food during the demo if you guys, or during training if you guys do some sort of cutting clinic. Go through all this. So when you go to value building, explain why you're doing it. Guys, we're going through value building so you understand price conviction, like you have price conviction. So that way you comfortably can promote price without thinking in your mind, whoa, that seems like a lot. So you yourself have to be able to digest price first, understand it's a great deal, in order to comfortably promote it to people. So we don't need to hide why we're doing training. We don't need to hide why we're doing different parts. Just tell them why. And explain how it gets tied into them getting an order on their first few demonstrations. Again, that's really our ultimate focus, is making sure they leave training and they produce great results. They get, immediate gratification. That's the purpose of any training. If I train somebody in playing basketball, ideally I want their first shot to go in. If I train people on how to, pass the soccer ball, I would love for their first pass to be successful and actually go to the target. So, this applies to sports and everything else that we're doing. Kind of going off the cuff here, but, you guys are understanding these concepts overall. So it all goes back to, again, how do we get a rep to make sure they get a sale on their first demo? Practice appointments is really important. Just let them know, the value of them getting a sale on their first demo. So everything I review with you, we can review with our reps. I do that same thing. I go, guys, it's just a part of training where, here's how you'll feel when you get a sale on your first demo. And now you believe you can do the job. You believe that it works for you, and you believe you're on track. So I want to make it so that even if you do the world's worst demonstration, you still get a sale on your first demo. If you're drooling and you're dropping stuff and forgetting everything, sit down, the idea in front of the best type of customer possible, where even if you do an inadequate job presenting it, you'll still get a sale. You go, guys, that's my first demo was my parents. I could have done the demo in German to them, and it could be the worst demo known to man, yet they still would have bought Cutco. It just made sense. And I also just wanted them to buy Cutco. That's the reason why I even took the job to begin with. But I went home saying, Mom, Dad, this is what you need to do. And ever since that first demo, I had no problem sitting down with people, even referrals, and just telling them straight up, hey, I want you to have this product line. And because it's a gift, and I just had no problem telling people that. It's awesome. Somebody had some sort of ailment and I had a cure for it. I had no problem saying, I want you to take this so you can, get healthy. So Cutco's not the cure for cancer, obviously, but, you get the point. So one thing I got this again from Kyle Preman, especially, He was promoting. He actually clearly makes sure that reps have like their first demo set up. He puts like double stars, in the schedule right after. I remember Wes Goddard teaching this years ago, how he has people go around the room and circle, their best Mac customers, and he has them say out loud, why is that your best customer? And so they're influencing each other. They're like, oh, this person's definitely going to get it. So he makes sure that they understand, number one, the job is to sell Cutco. But number two, that they're properly targeting, like any other marketing company has a target niche, and make sure they match up a great product with a target clientele. So again, that came from Wes years ago. I snagged that from him. So day 3 training. Here's a big thing too, to make sure my reps get a sale on the first demo. Because I probably get 80% to 90% of my reps get a sale on the very first appointment. I just make sure that the rep understands that the demo, what it is just answering a customer's questions in advance. So I've incorporated some of the advanced training material into basic training. It's really simple, and I just go through. Day 1 even, when I teach the demo, I have them write down at the top of each section the question that the customer has that needs to be answered in advance in order for them to feel comfortable in ordering Cutco. Opening comments, I teach the concern concept. I write on the board, concern equals unanswered question. Just like your customers will have unanswered questions, answer them in advance, and then the customer will choose to buy Cutco. Just makes sense for them to get it. I also go through this whole thing of, hey, you guys have concerns because you're new, and all they are is unanswered questions. Let's get them answered. So that way you have the right expectation that you will do well with our company, because I will not dive into taking action, which is 3 days of training, unless you guys have the right expectation, which is that you will do well and can do well. But anyway, so when I teach the demo, I have them write down, even on the very first page, I have them write down, why should I be a candidate for this product line? That's when I teach my whole open-minded concept, and there's other videos about this. I've given you, first PDI, first weekend scenarios. Lately, I just use the example of the guy collecting donations from me, and he just needed to make sure that I was willing to wait to the end of the conversation to make up my decision. So I just share that with the guys and the gals in my training group. I go, your objective is just to have somebody wait to the end to make up their mind, make sure that they understand they have an answer to the question, why should I be a candidate? Why should I absorb the features and benefits? Why does it make sense to wait to the end to make up my mind? And in the next section, Junkie Knives, they write down, why should I replace what I'm using? And I said, guys, you just got to make sure you answer that question. Why should the customer replace what they're using? Top of features and benefits, they write down, why does Cutco cost what it does? And I go, guys, as long as you answer that question, doesn't matter what Cutco costs, they're going to understand why it costs more. And as long as you as the representative understand why it costs more, you'll present price with confidence. And I go, guys, it's a good thing that Cutco costs more. That way you never have to apologize for marketing junk to people. I love the fact that it costs more. I'm not ashamed of that. I actually embrace it. I love it because it means that we used amazing products, we used amazing materials, and we used amazing engineering, to build the actual product line. So I don't hide the fact. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not embarrassed about it. I just get it done. Lately, I've been teaching, and when I teach the demo, I go, it's like, if somebody goes to boot camp, I'm not going to hide the fact it's tough. I'll be like, it's probably the hardest thing that you ever do. That way they're prepared for it. So I tell people, hey, listen, Aunt Sally, Cutco's going to cost more, but you'll see why it's worth it. That's why we're sitting down today for 45 minutes to an hour, so that way you understand why. Top of the guarantee page, I have them write down, why should I get it now? And so my reps clearly understand that question needs to be answered. And again, this is day 1. I have no problem teaching these concepts. And then on the bottom of the guarantee page, they write down, why do knives come as a set? I used to have it be, why should I get a set? But then I'm like, guys, I don't do that anymore because that implies to the customer that they could get pieces. So that doesn't make much sense. It's ineffective. So instead I've switched it to, hey, why do knives come as a set? So the rep writes that down. And then at that stage I go, guys, at this point the order's been created, and then as much as possible I go back and re-review the questions. I go, you guys already answered the question, why should I be a candidate to get this product? Why should I replace what I'm using? Why does Cutco cost more? Why should I get it today? Oh, that's what and then why does it come as a set? So at this point the order's created. What's yet to be determined though is the size of the order. And lastly, it's, hey, why should I choose to afford this? I have them write that down eventually on page 9 and 10. I don't say, why can I afford it? Because I go, guys, everybody can. It's why should I choose to? Yeah, because my reps understand the idea that if somebody has cable TV, an internet connection, they perceive themselves as one who has disposable money. Because if one perceives themselves as one who is broke, they'll cancel their cell phone, cancel their gym membership, cancel their cable TV. So, using just examples like that, all it does is it just goes back to making sure a rep expects and understands that people have disposable money and can afford it. So it goes back to the original concept of, do they believe they'll get orders, and do they want customers to have Cutco? And that's how they're going to go out and get sales, first weekend. Day 3 training, I review the demo again, and again, go through, hey guys, let's go through again the questions you're looking to answer throughout the demonstration. So my reps leave day 3 understanding, advanced warm-up and understanding the questions they need to answer. I'd rather do that than to have them go out, get a no-sale or two, and then have to cover it on PDI anyway. And so I'd rather just go ahead and make sure they understand the psychology before they actually sit down with those initial customers. So, that's important to keep that in mind. Or if they do get a no-sale, now I at least I could say, hey, Susan, like I was telling you in training, same thing you would teach reps. You want them to deal with the customer's questions before they came up. So that way at the end, if a customer does say, hey, I need to speak to my husband or wife, you could say, hey, Susan, like I was telling you earlier. So I teach reps that I go, because if you discuss why buy today for the first time, customers usually close-minded. But, if you say, hey, Susan, like I was mentioning to you earlier, it's now the second time the customer's hearing it, it's easier to go ahead and persuade them. All right, because you've already planted seeds early on, or you've already kind of thrown the answer out there early on before, they've even asked the question. So same thing goes with reps. Let's teach them, or let's answer their questions, before they come up. So that way, that first weekend, where you're talking to them on PDI, you're like, hey, Johnny, remember I was mentioning to you in training. Let's review that now. So that way they're like, oh, yeah, cool, that makes sense. Because the idea of, and I'll end on this, there's 4 stages of development. This will help you have your reps get sales right away. First stage of development is unconscious incompetent. So people are incompetent, but they're unconscious to it. So they blame the program. They're like, this doesn't work. That's when most human beings quit. Stage 2 is what's called conscious incompetence. So they're incompetent still, but now they're conscious to it. I joke, I say it's like Homer Simpson goes, dope, because now he's aware. And once somebody has awareness, they can make some shifts and changes. Stage 3 is called conscious competence. They're saying the right thing, but they have to think before they speak. Stage 4 development is unconscious competent. So they're in the zone. It's muscle memory. Okay, they say the right thing, but they don't even have to think about it. And I share that with reps. I go, guys, you probably won't even be in that zone until you're at like 30K in sales. You're an FSM. Here's my point, though. We lose reps sometimes. They leave training, do a demo. We never hear from them ever again. All right, because they're in an unconscious incompetent zone. They think the program doesn't work. So if we're able to go ahead and teach them some of the psychology of the demo in advance and get them as soon as possible into the conscious incompetent, they now have hope because they're aware of, they're aware of the fact that there's things they could do to increase their production. And that's how you have a rep check in with you, after each appointment. So I know this video is about getting a sale on the first demo, but at the very least, you want them to get a sale on their second demo if they get a no sale on their first, but they have to call in order to do that. Last analogy I'll give you guys, what I've been doing lately to really introduce why reps should call in on PDI or why they need to after each appointment. We do that in our office. You may or may not in yours. I recommend it. I say the analogy is like shooting at a bullseye. You take a shot at the bullseye. I don't care whether you missed the target or not. We now have experience. You can adjust the scope. You take another shot, adjust the scope. Well, after each demo you do, we're going to have a PDI call where we can adjust the scope together, guys. And that way, eventually, you'll consistently be hitting bullseye when it comes to getting orders, referrals, and also phone skills. So my reps just understand they don't put any drama or they don't have any meaning to their first no sale. I just make sure they're prepped for it in case they are the 20% that do get a no sale on their first demo. They just understand that they now have experience. We adjust the scope, and they're ready to go for the next demo. And I prep them on adjusting the scope. I say, don't listen to me as if I'm critiquing you or it's like you're bad. All we're doing is adjusting the scope. I would do the same thing for Michael Jordan. If he was in a bit of a slump, even though he's the best basketball player ever, we'd still talk about how to adjust his jump shot because he was always looking to evolve as a basketball player. So use these tips. Let's make sure reps get a sale on the very first demo. Be responsible for that, guys, and we'll retain people.